All right. Hello, everybody. This is going to be kind of an in-depth overview of Dynamesh. It seems everybody's sort of struggling with the workflow, so I want to just go over this a little bit more, kind of in depth, a little bit slower, so everybody understands it. Um, so here you are. This is the basic interface with my configuration loaded up here. Everything should be how you see it when you start up. So what's the best way to start with a Dynamesh? So if we've got no kind of like previous geometry or anything from other software, the best way to start with a Dynamesh would be to go up to Lightbox, and then we've got these preset brushes or projects over here. So you can see as I click these, there's a 128 and a 32 and a 64. These are the resolutions. When it says 128, 32, 64, it's the resolution of the Dynamesh, like the initial mesh resolution. So I always suggest start with the lowest one, so 32, and it's going to say is your project, blah blah blah. You can just say no, and then we'll get this screen. I typically turn perspective off just because I don't like it. And it's always a good idea to turn your polyframe on so you can see the topology that you're working from. Right now I've got my symmetry on, so if I do things, it'll do it on both sides. So this is the base Dynamesh. And over here, you can see we have Dynamesh. We've got some buttons and sliders. So I'm going to kind of go through each one of these things in depth as much as I can. So the first thing to understand about Dynamesh is it's size dependent. What that means is if you import a model from somewhere else, it could be bigger or smaller depending on how it was brought in, the scale, and things like that. So it's always a good idea, and this is when you first start your project. You don't want to do this later. Is to just click Unify. So what this does is it auto resizes your objects to a proper size. If you ever want to know if your size might be too big or too small for your initial Dynamesh object, the real easy way to figure that out is by your brush size. So you can see right now I'm 239 and I can go up to about 1,000, and this is about the size of this sphere for that center point. And then you go down to a small, and one should be the size of a point basically. Now, if it's different than that, you may have too big or too small of a mesh. So it's always something to kind of double check. Um, the next kind of check for your scale would be your Dynamesh. So if for some reason this object was really, really, really big, you might see that you've got to crank your resolution up really, really, really high to get any amount of topology. So those things are caveats to look out for in the beginning when you're just getting started with the sculpt. Um, all right, and now let's go up here. We've got Dynamesh, and we see this resolution slider. So this is something that's been giving everybody a little bit of an issue, so I want to talk about that. So when you're sculpting with a Dynamesh, you're pulling and you're pushing things, and I've seen a few meshes come through that look like this. So I know that you're not using Dynamesh correctly because you're not remeshing. The process of remeshing in Dynamesh is as simple as holding Control, left click, and drag. And you can see that changed the topology. We went from this with all these stretch polygons to this, which we've got nice even polygons. So the typical kind of workflow for Dynamesh is whenever you're sculpting and moving things around, you're always clearing your mask. So you're always updating your Dynamesh. So what will eventually happen is you'll get kind of out here, say you're pulling some kind of fin or something out, and you'll clear this and you're going to go. So if you run into this issue where you can't get these polygons to resolve, like they're just really crunchy, and you can't seem to get any further with it. So you know at that point it's time to change your resolution. So we're gonna up this a little bit. We'll just say 80 and then clear our mask. And you'll see we got a lot more resolution between this to this to this. So now I can smooth, turn my poly mesh off. I can smooth these edges, and lo and behold, they're not really gross and disgusting. But there's a trick to this. If, say, for some reason I want to start maybe pulling things out this direction, I Dynamesh, smooth, you're going to see we'll start to get crunchier again. The more I pull these out, because every single time I clear this mask, I'm saying, hey, ZBrush, we need to get more topology. So eventually you'll get to a point where it's low res again. And then all you'll do is go over to your resolution, move it up a little bit, and clear your mask. Um, if you ever get to a point where you're trying to move like your surface and it's just not working, or it gets really lumpy, you know you've got too much resolution. So to lower the resolution of your object, you literally just lower it back down, clear your mask, and continue working. This is a really easy kind of dynamic workflow to use. As long as you're clearing your mask, you're adding resolution as you're going. So hopefully that helps a bit with everybody in Dynamesh. As usual, reach out with any questions. Thank you.